Hey triathletes, Justin here. If you're not sure whether you need one of these, or one of these for your first triathlon, then this is the video for you. Hey triathletes, Justin here. You're on Justin Does Triathlon, and if you're just getting into the sport of triathlon, buying a bike can be one of the most intimidating, expensive, and challenging decisions you have to make. So today I'm going to show you the advantages and disadvantages of regular bikes, road bikes, and dedicated triathlon bikes, and which one is best for you when you're starting into the sport or looking to make that next purchase. Real quick before we dive in, I just want to say when it comes to any bike, no matter which one you choose, the biggest limiting factor is going to be your fitness and then aerodynamics on the bike. So you don't need to get caught up in how much the bike weighs, what it's made out of, if it's the absolute newest model year or anything like that. It doesn't matter that much, especially when you're starting into the sport. The very best bike that you can do for your first race is something just like that. It's the bike you already own. It's the bike your neighbor has. It's anything with two wheels and some pedals that you can get on and bike for 12 miles that are going to get you to the finish line. The big disadvantage of a bike like this is it's really upright and your seating position is such that you're going to be taking a lot of wind to the face and to the chest. So everything you can do to minimize that is going to make you faster. Make sure the seat is in a proper position. For a lot of beginners, that's a little higher than they think it is. Make sure you bring your chest down and your elbows in so you're really minimizing the amount of air that's hitting you in the face, and make sure to pedal a little bit faster than you think you need to. A lot of beginner cyclists that I see, they push a really hard gear and it wears the legs out, which is going to be killer on the run. If you've got a bike like this in your garage, I recommend taking it into a bike shop, getting it checked out before your race, get a full tune-up on it, getting a flat kit, and making sure that you're prepared to fix anything that might go wrong on race day. Especially if it's your first triathlon and all you care about is getting the race in and finishing it, you don't have to spend a ton of money. You're not going to feel as cool as someone on a road bike or a super fancy triathlon bike, but I assure you I see bikes just like this all the time. So if you're willing to move up to a road bike and actually spend some money, say $700 to $1,500, a road bike is definitely the best bang for your buck. And if you're looking to get into the sport and you want a bike that's going to last you a really long time, a road bike is definitely the option to go with. It's a sweet spot for value. There's a ton of used bikes on Craigslist in your local bike shop, so go in, get fitted, figure out the size you need, and go from there. The big upgrades from the Cruiser really come down to it's made for racing. Your body's going to be in a much better position. You're going to be way more aerodynamic. You can shift and brake at the same time. This bike is just way more versatile of a bike compared to a Cruiser or a triathlon bike. You can use this in training, in group rides, in racing, on mountain roads, on long flat roads, anything you can think of, a road bike is going to be able to do it and do it well. You can actually buy clip-on aero bars and put them on the handlebars of a road bike, and you can really replicate that triathlon position and get almost all of the speed out of a road bike compared to a triathlon bike. If you're only going to have one bike in your house, a road bike should definitely be the one. You're going to save some money because road bikes are almost always cheaper than triathlon bikes. Some fantastic beginner bikes to look out for: the Specialized Allay, the Giant Contend, Felt VR60 are fantastic starting points, and they're going to last you for many years in your racing. All right, so third up is a tri-bike, and it's meant to do one thing, and that is go fast in a straight line for a long distance. Couple big advantages here: you always have access to the gears. You can shift from the aero bar extension, so you don't have to get out of an aerodynamic position to shift. This bike and a lot of others have a ton of integration and storage, so you can store food or liquid on the bike. You don't need to get out of the aero position and get in your jersey for food. You can store a lot of gels and energy right in the bike itself or between the aero bars. A lot of tri-bikes are really meant to be assembled and unassembled quickly because they know that triathletes are traveling. And then ultimately the really big advantage of a dedicated tri-bike is the body position that it puts you in. Not only is it super aerodynamic, but it puts you a lot more forward on the bike, so you're actually using more of your glutes compared to your quads, and that means that when you get off of the bike to run, it's going to be a lot easier to run. So one of the advantages and time savers of a triathlon bike is not just the time difference on the actual bike course itself, but it's the additional speed you're going to be able to run when you get off of the bike. A couple big disadvantages, and they're basically the opposite of the road bike. They're not really good for group rides at all. They're generally banned from group rides because you don't have access to the brakes. They're not really good for going around town. So if you have to be biking around a ton of cars, I'm generally not nearly as comfortable doing it on a tri-bike compared to a road bike. The position can be really hard to get used to. So even if you go into a professional bike shop and get fitted, which you absolutely should, The more aggressive forward leaned over position can be uncomfortable for a lot of people. They're super comfortable long term if you're well fitted, but it's a big change compared from a road bike, and a lot of people are not comfortable in the beginning. And the last thing is just they're really, really expensive. A similar tri bike with similar components is almost always going to be way more expensive than a road bike. So what are the reasons you would upgrade to a tri bike? One, when you're on a road bike with aero bars, you have a different fit where the seat's sitting, where the bars are at, all that stuff changes. So I had to go through the hassle of changing my entire fit around every time I put aero bars on that bike. Ultimately, after years of doing it, it just got really, really annoying to have to lose my road bike fit every time I wanted to put aero bars on, or be really, really uncomfortable on my aero bars if I didn't change the fit. The second thing is clip-on aero bars don't let you shift from them. So every time that I wanted to shift, I had to get out of my aero bars and shift like a typical road bike. During racing, it was just one of those things that I didn't want to have to do. It made the bike harder to ride, especially going downhills. Thirdly, ultimately, I was still going to be a little bit slower on a road bike with aero bars versus a dedicated tri bike. So I wanted to make that switch, get that last little bit of speed. A couple quick recommendations. If you're looking to spend under $1,500, I would honestly stick with a road bike with aero bars. It's right around that $1,500 point. There's a couple good ones. The Cervelo P2 and the Felt B12 are both fantastic, almost as fast as bikes costing $5,000, $10,000. So speaking of, a couple of bike buying tips. Fit matters more than anything else. So whether you're on a cruiser bike, a road bike, or a triathlon bike, fit matters more than the features of the bike. You cannot adjust your body to the bike. You got to get a bike that fits yourself. The best time to buy a bike is late in the season. So October through January, you can get some amazing deals on bikes. If you have the ability to wait until after the race season, manufacturers are clearing out their model year bikes, you can save $1,000 easily in your local bike shop. If you're budgeting for a new bike and you don't have any gear, make sure to save at least $150 or $200 for all that safety and essential gear you have to have. There's a video right there with my 10 essential pieces of gear that beginner triathletes have to have. Check it out and be sure you've got all that stuff for race day. Last thing is, don't stress the bike isn't that big of a deal. I assure you, I have seen people with bikes that are worth a couple six-packs right next to bikes that are worth $10,000 at races, and no one cares. If you're comfortable on the bike, that's what matters, especially if you're just getting into the sport. What matters is you get into the sport, you figure out if you love it, then you can invest the money down the road if you want to. I hope you subscribe for more. There's a ton of beginner and intermediate triathlon content coming, gear reviews, training tips, my own training vlogs as I do my racing. Would love to share that all with you and hope you stick around. Have a fantastic rest of your day, everybody. Go do some awesome training of your own. See ya.